So we want to find what the American people are thinking. I think, Dana, for the purposes of the numbers I'm about to show you, and this goes back a ways now, sometimes it's 6 weeks, sometimes 2 years, is that the political parties really see this story in a very different way, okay? So this was our polling from 6 weeks ago. How concerned are you about Russia's invasion? This here, I think, is quite telling, extremely or very, okay? So it's about 2/3 of the American people. Democrats much more at 73, Republicans less at 54. Then look at this from Gallup, okay? So this is in the last couple of weeks now. U.S. support of Ukraine, limited time frame or as long as it takes. So Republicans are 2/3 for limited time frame. Democrats are about 2/3 for as long as it takes. And I'm going to, in two more frames here, I'm going to show you really a telling graph, I think, about the current conflict. This is how do you feel about ending the war in Ukraine? Do you support reclaiming territory to end it quickly? I find a bit of a split here, right? 58 to 40%. But these are the lines, I think, that really tell a story. In red is Republican, in blue is Democrat. Here's the question. Should it end as quickly as possible? This Republican line here goes to 74%. The Democratic line goes to about 35%, but clearly there's a difference of opinion here. You know, Republicans and Democrats, independents, by the way, in the middle at 47%. All that said, if you watch the shows on Sunday, they are adamant that Zelensky's got to do the deal, and then we can put the pressure on Putin. Watch here.
Either he needs to come to his senses and come back to the table in gratitude, or someone else needs to lead the country to do that.
I don't agree. I'm not interested in calling on the resignation of other world leaders. I didn't like it when Chuck Schumer asked for Netanyahu to be removed. I don't like it when other members of the Senate asked for Zelensky to be removed either. That would spiral Ukraine into chaos right now.
National Security Advisor Michael Waltz joins us now. We're so glad to have you. Thank you so much. So, okay, so Friday happened, and now looking forward, I'm curious how you would describe what does President Trump think success looks like at the end of this conversation with Zelensky, and does it include Zelensky in the end?
Well, thanks, Dana. Here's what success looks like, and you heard President Trump say it repeatedly in that just really, truly ridiculous and unacceptable session right behind me in the White House. Success looks like President Zelensky sitting down and talking the terms of peace, talking about what he needs to see, Ukraine needs to see to get to a partial ceasefire, a permanent ceasefire, and an end to this war. And what became so evident to us in that session was he's not ready to talk peace at all. But here's the problem. Time is not on his side. Time is not on the side of just forever continuing this conflict. The American people's patience is not unlimited. Their wallets are not unlimited. And our stockpiles and munitions are not unlimited that we need for all kinds of contingencies around the world. So the time to talk is now. And you know what we're hearing in terms of alternatives, whether it's the Democrats or leaders around the world, is essentially continuing this grinding World War I style trench warfare that is a meat grinder of people, munitions, and national treasure. The president campaigned on ending this war. He was elected to end this war. He will be the peacemaker in chief. But it was really confounding to us that Zelensky could have left the White House Friday having the U.S. and Ukraine bound together economically for a generation. You have the British talking about troops on the ground and a security guarantee, the French talking about troops on the ground and security guarantee. We even had the NATO Secretary General talk to the president just before the Zelensky meeting. So this was no ambush. This was an opportunity and a moment. And I think President Zelensky truly did his country a real disservice by not having a positive outcome Friday. And, you know, we'll see where things are going forward.
Okay, let's try and put the pieces together for our audience here. Scott Besson said on CBS that Zelensky got the sequence out of order, okay? Now, a lot of things happening in Europe over the weekend. Let's start with it, all right? Here's the UK Prime Minister suggests keep the aid flow into Kyiv, include Ukraine at the bargaining table. Ukraine must ensure its sovereignty and security and arm Ukraine to deter a further invasion. Now, you mentioned the French. Macron says, let's go ahead and get a deal for a truce for 1 month. The head of the EU said, it's time to rearm Europe. And then the British Prime Minister chimed in with this, boots on the ground was the quote. Watch.
The UK is prepared to back this with boots on the ground and planes in the air to support peace in our continent. And to succeed, this effort must have strong US backing. We are at a crossroads in history today. This is not a moment for more talk. It's time to act, time to step up and lead, and to unite around a new plan for a just and enduring peace.
Okay, so if all that is on the table here, and Zelenskyy comes back to sign this deal, and he said this over the weekend, there's not been a day when we haven't felt gratitude. It's gratitude for the preservation of independence. Our resilience in Ukraine is based on what our partners are doing for us and for their own security. If you can align all this up, sir, you then put the pressure on Putin to find out whether or not he is ready for peace. Does the White House believe he is at this moment?
Well, all of those things have to be tested, Bill. But what we don't have right now is President Zelenskyy saying, I am ready to take the steps necessary and have the conversations necessary and make the compromises necessary to end the fighting, go to a ceasefire, some permutation of there's 1 month, there's 2 weeks, there's stopping long-range strikes on both sides, on each other's energy infrastructure. All of those things are on the table, but they were on the table before last Friday as well. And what we essentially heard was he's not ready to talk about it as though grinding this war forward for the years to come is truly an option, and it's not. So we're ready to have those conversations. We had it with the Russians in Riyadh. We're ready to have it with the Ukrainians and then engage in shuttle diplomacy. But we need to hear that latter piece from Zelenskyy, and we need to hear it publicly.
Last question from me. At the end of this, if there is a deal that's signed, a minerals deal, does President Trump believe it will actually be with Zelenskyy or another leader?
Well, I think what happened Friday really put that up in the air. Is Zelenskyy ready, personally, politically, to move his country towards an end to the fighting? And can he and will he make the compromises necessary? And you heard the president. Both sides are going to have to make compromises. I think a lot of people can see what those roughly will be. In terms of security guarantee for some type of territorial concessions. Those broad outlines are evident. Does both sides have the will to sit down and drive this towards peace? That's President Trump's objective. That's what he was elected to do, and that's what we're ready to do and trying to do right now.
Okay, last question. You said Friday really put that up in the air. If Zelenskyy doesn't lead Ukraine, who does?
Well, look, we're not going to get into, speculating on these issues in public. What we need to hear from President Zelenskyy is that he has regret for what happened. He's ready to sign this minerals deal and that he's ready to engage in peace talks. I don't think that's too much to ask. I think that's what's best for the American people, for the Ukrainian people, for Russia, and for the world to restore stability. President Trump is ready to end this war. And there will be a process to do that we've laid out. And it was no accident. We had key European leaders here saying they are ready to step up and provide those security guarantees. The president even said with some type of American support to be negotiated. So we're ready to enter in those negotiations, is President Zelenskyy, and we'll test both sides in terms of their willingness to compromise to get this deal done.
President Trump knows how to surprise. Any possibility that this gets resolved and he announces it tomorrow night at his joint address to Congress?
Well, we'd certainly like to see that. We were planning to announce this minerals deal, that it would have been signed Friday and was a very positive step forward for all sides, and importantly for the American taxpayer who has given so much of their hard-earned treasure so that Ukraine could defend itself. That was the plan. We'll see what happens in the next 48 hours, but we are certainly looking to move forward in a positive way.
Michael Waltz, really appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir.
We're watching by the
Thank you.
hour. Thanks for coming on.